So it's been a while. I'm going to do some poems from a forthcoming thing, more of which anon. It's the last wolf killed in Ireland. For every bitch wolf, £6. For every dog wolf, £5. For every cub which prayeth for himself, 40 shillings. For every suckling cub, 10 shillings. And no wolf after the last of September until the 10th of January be accounted a young wolf, and the commissioners of the revenue shall cause the same equally assessed within their precincts. Oliver Cromwell, 7th April, 1652. Muck cheer, strange aggressor. My name is subtle heckle on an English tongue. To say my name invites the mountain of malice hill, of hides the snow-quilted sleeve between fort and forest, stronghold and stream. The night is full of saints and toads for will, fiol, my young son of fallen arrow stepped to stain. Big men in the paranoid plainclothes proper to thieves. Our pelts become pennants along their border wall, their arrows break off and my boys mock cheer. Aconites, air-stuck tincture, pale green, bane most verdant after grief. Big men erect a republic of bone, Osrega, Osori, ossuary state, through the horny gloaming their gimp tread and bilious crooning of ruined harvest of feudal moon. My eye is gold, it taints whatever it touches, gilds whatever it spoils. This was my mountain. I had such husbands, lean and leery, courting my carnal sulk by culvert verge and hollow. Our sex of vernal errand, paysock sweet to hex, to bless, their breath was meat and burning sage. These my suitors, lank flags flown from paring blades, big men who estimate their skin by weight, mock cheer, indulging my jugular thoughts alone. Revenge is a dish best served sprinting over dawn's ditch. What would I give to swallow them whole? The very towns are teething, mouthing a murderous vowel meaning home. This was never their home. Towers and turnstiles, roads and gates, their steely premonitions of decay. I lope, frustrated light to dread, enter a hateful song aslant, the shunned house, the haunted tor, fail, the plain, the moor. Our war. We who had nothing will school them in serenity. Severus. Here, at the chattering turn of the year, you tarry in my flashbacks. Those men who speak of the land, the dark knot fouled into fastening tight at the throat, night after night, would tar my eyes like sheep sores, sleep, but no. Here in the cold, damp gape of a Wellington boot, the spitters and widows and weavers of orbs, those men who sing of the land, fallow or sodden, would stride it to possession, how the mouth succumbs to psalms, to sand, my thick tongue sculling a coroner. The church has her congregations, wraiths of crude carousal lighting little tapers. Look, and a small child rivets his peaky stare to a flammable angel, the angel an effigy made of itself. Bonfire boys with pockets full of boiling gall, young men who talk of the war, its sprawling zeitgeist, as if they know more than the earth and its currency of tubers, as if they known fear's soft after show. I hear them speak and I am newly sickened. Here is history, pallidly lurking. Here are the birds, the sparrows of abandon, a cursory gospel of gulls. Here are our people, yours and mine, in the grey pink battery flesh of the poor. And who are we but a rumour in the works of the sea? Between task and quest, our ship turned back or sunk. Sweetness. Our ancestors lived through their limbs, through the slippery, wakeful nonsense of whatever work. Biddies patching canvas sails, menfolk lost on dredges' errands, the canals mouthed us home. We knew you cannot claim the land the sea gives up. In the mute slant, in the stale tang of lay-by and boarding house, where the turf is cut, in a bothy light, in a flinty cowshed light, in a scaldy light, in a caravan light, just so. There are men who juggle the glamour of crisis like swords and apply for Arts Council funding. I am tired. Refine the nervous sugar of your name where everybody speaks your name to football chant or skipping rhyme to a your shit sing-along, horny on shore leave. My student says, art can only be redeemed by the expenditure of reason. I cannot imagine anything more nauseating or less true. I dream of you, all our boys, bursting between words, pouring through the great white still of the world, through the gullet of the world, swilled in the gob of the world between grim obeisances here. At the chattering turn of the year I return, and the tongue turns chalk to walk your silhouette to incident. Dear one, when they speak of the land, it is not this. Spliffy morning spoofed aurora wasted love, an elegy for melly hands. You are dragged in the wake of a broken plough. The policeman knows. This one's more of an oldie but goodie, I think. A policeman knows a killing is called for. Your Romany man for a Frankenstein, Thomas, a necessary neck. You inhabit the holes in his eyes forever, your fine mouths boarded up, your deaths both cheap and pure. Your bodies are packets of stale contraband, the glorious fact of your shadow a witch. You are beaten with sticks until your own mouths evict you. You cannot inhabit even your breath, spit on your shadow. The policeman knows what is left of you. A barren sleeve, the candle consumed by its thin no comment. The hair split to refusal, turning white. He knows you will not emerge into magic. There is only death and its council of arrogant spades sifting the earth into absolutes. In the end, you're denied even fire, that slender escape his best and other self. The policeman is made of bronze, of granite, of headline. The world casts models from his monotone. Each night he consecrates his melt weight to the scales, pleased by what his gain. His kneeling knows no prayer. Your faces dwell in his mythology of mirrors. He sees you looking back at him and is afraid. His counterspell is gravity. Do not go shirtless and featherweight into the night or throw your convulsive survival at the world. Crouching corners shrink. He will wade in you up to the waist in the silvery destitute streets you have no right to walk. He will walk on you. The policeman knows where to redeem your teeth if necessary. They will open you up, appropriate, proportionate, as it was into bliss, and anywhere as it is will be, world without end. The policeman knows. The cracked rib he calls God is on his side. Oh, to be washed clean, to be washed clean away. Fear of sand for Rob. Some faces are entitled to their violence. Touch them and they fly apart like broken scissors. There are soldiers and then there are soldiers, he says, in his dictionaries of tin arranged in rows. The man on my left was afraid of sand, the opposing poles of his blue-grey eyes refusing to meet in the middle distance, an acrid, irrigated sky. There's a smile that comes off on the back of your hand, scorched red rubber. These things I know, these things you do not understand, he says, shellacking flack, the scalloped edges of a liar's tongue, a world unmade and glittering. Some faces are formed around the question, will there be cherries in heaven? And a light syrup tasting mostly of styrofoam, will anyone care that we burnt the Bibles we swore on? It is late, alone, the dog disputes the manger. The body of Christ climbs back into his porcelain babies. The body of Christ resplendent in a shrapnel of candied fruit, the infant Jesus, a fossil in tar. It is late. In the film, a rich widow strips gold embellishments from her ears and her arched neck is Chekhov's gun preempts the guillotine. In the dark, a man is bringing a hammer down on a cow's head like a judge's gavel. Somewhere, a neck is being wrung or the cursory light of the candle is bobbing to mass. My mind is racing. I have firework emojis in all strategic areas, preserving what we'll call my modesty, but I am falling apart in front of strangers. To my doctor, I say it was like this or like that, but my own name is absurd to me, the debris of metaphor. The man on my left was afraid of sound, of even the crust that he picked from his eyes. It yellowly hardens. He turns it to glass. Cheers. Poem in the year of the ram. To wake, not to bury. Poet and dog have passed through the long, dark night of the distended gut. And morning is coughwort and toadflax, virgin's tears and sorcerer's violet. Will the hedgerows afford us a funerary bird? Nature can cuss between winter's toll and spring's gloved quickening. There are garlands for the dead and crowns for the condemned. There's a moist green mouth that swells the meat it holds. Hawks we have, turning their renunciate mass towards the power lines, and the garlic breath of sabotage. This we can do, but the wren, a bird we tell like a bead, no. Grandfather squinting through the aspic of his cataracts at a country sorely changed, where Speedwell wears the rumour of its blue, where fallen leaves of physics echo, starlings excavate themselves like wet flints from a civil field. Where is the wren, that fat molecule of promise the genius furs? Little Obeah, monarch of the sorrows, her government is exile, the sceptre and the orb. The Moors, after John Clare, these last two not unconnected. And he says to me, how will we know spring now without these couriers of soft arousal, birds? Our lips pinched with nervous thirst, we breathe a warm sleep, meaning fire. Deep peat burns, how will we know? When the year turns, measures the milky length of itself in driven grouse, the more all wet, sequestered death fix an occasion to cold blue smoke to blades of grass like blackened wicks. Seasons we have borrowed back from flame, the river hauls itself to haunting Bampot Lazarus bent upon flood, a grey lace grazing the eyelets of windows. Meadow mauled and gasping, we will learn new alphabets of ruin, the unrequited geckering of rusty ghosts, a fox drawing its frail amours at an empty night. There is no wren to bury or to wake, a rake of ash man-sized in dirty straw. A hair is a quarrel of small bones, stale fur is anything turned or scrubbed or beaten back. Her eye a bead of amber trespass still, it is still lesser cinders smothered. To pick those thinning threads of flesh from soil not meat enough to bait a hook. And spring will mean a chavvy's fist raised against the formal heart of crows, a hedge without scent, a halting rumour of stoat, of rabbit, sodden hips, rotten haws, recipes for dog roes, sloes and galls, bedagore, as ague swollen auger, telier tied and thick with misery. How will we know? Through murmur perfect to alarm, by the wire, of course, its counterfeit nativity of stars, sackcloth scope of the moor, mile upon mile, and residues on remnants, winds. We, who lived lightly and divided through our exile, shed the false hope of return in fences, measure our timid griefs against the stench of gutted heather. I just replace all of these with the words fuck the Tories in like 50-foot Comic Sans font or some shit. There we go. The country wife. How my face is a pillow and your fist finds repose. Sleep, my frenzied pencil. Sleep, audacious haunt of fox. Sleep has hung her wet deterrent in the trees, says come not near. Now hunger shuts my mouth. Now hunger drums a buzzard from the copse. He is a cleric's jest of wing, shadow of his former Mardy wheeling between the silo and the road, all the obstinate tenants of the hedge, where fear will stretch the pained decency of sparrows, blue sky benumbs like an egotist's mirror. Nature, without pity or apology, malice or mercy, see a charm of maggots passing through the wreck of a sheep, see pinks, lilting eunuchs of the sty where bullocks sway in their stalls like mob morbid lorlings see. And God is here, dragging a knife through your idle surmise. He is always here, folded as small as a Scottish promise in the snug wallets of our folly. Sisters, those Christly automata pulling their teeth out with pliers to make more room for prayer. Sisters in a pavilion of bells, mouthing their sinister forbearance to the walls, but tenderly. And they are also sheep in the groupthink of their grazing, who live mostly in the supple arrears of the tongue, what grace shall never utter. Winter, we do not decay but are consumed. My fury is circular packed with this body or dissolute mourning its trail of vicious appetites, your fists in a crouching light, illiterate omens of no account. Sleep, my throne voice, sleep, carving my sensitive flesh into limelight, transmuting my vow into wound. To look upon beauty, I shall not. It is the museum's remedy. Our boy, his body mocks the warm fuzzies of your elegy. Husband, his hands have turned to hooves in the dark. Stallion of lesser extremities, my night mount, concussions confessors, say it again. Ice, this melody, the wages of rain. At the wake, in the wake. It wasn't very wife of me to answer the night, its cagey, lunatic summons. I've carried my pain like a Fabergé egg in the hollow of a spoon. Okaznik. Those who are denied becomes those who will refuse. Baby, and with bratty tenderness, sing it with me. I have no home. When you're not welcome within even your own razored strut, there's nothing to do but funnel your worst ideas down the fouled seam of a tongue, a fulsome dart, a fatty sky, and coffee like cocaine is but a tempest in an artery. Life is so near I could lick those lighted windows, melt their curtained kitchens in my mouth. I'm not a nice person. Consult my cells, invent fresh sickness, measure me up for the houndtooth suit of simplified affection. They'll love you when you're dead, or not at all. You know me. My eyes trap their anthropology inside of them. I'm digested alive by my own stupid daring inside of me, dirt bags, glandular trash talk, not enough sawdust to soak up the blood. Why did I come? City, sad den of copyrighted lust, poets and their swooning freight of diseases, homeland, family, full sexual history. I stand in the center of a dark room and men do their conversation at me. I can see through his skull to his brain, sealed in a tepid vacuum sandwich at an automat. Here now and briefly, nervously alive, curse my wrists, necrotized with silver, how it burns when a hand brushes mine. A sticky trace against her skin, fish scales bright as cycloid mucus raiment, to be carnivorous, predatory, extinct. Drink the gentrified, dark, torrid in time lapse, common aconitum, addicted to poison. I do not belong to my body, to the stroppy rooms and slang we make for meaning. One day, their heads will be the eggshells I walk upon, thumb through a fontanelle, fisting wet fruit. And now a lovely little poem about cactuses. Semper Vivum. It was you all along, angel of crab-apple intercourse, my failed stranger. You'd counterfeit furies to frighten me, poor little buttercup, and city mornings thick with bacon and saline. Dirty windows hold a roomy heat. Nothing grows except these asexual rosettes I pin to earth by slender threads of succulence, forever alive, an ulcer tempered, a thunder tamed. Our inward heats, the house, the heart, fretting and inflamed. The radio commits its batshit hymns to summer. The house leaks grow, epiphanies of flesh, an aureole and areola, mauve and porous place of stones. July dilates, and August crawls, virid warheads, jellies, red eruptions, slick as veal. An apron of unwelcome light across the yard, downy bubas, bulbous domes, this spatulate extravagance of hands, rubra, spreading like an enervated Buddha, tight with livid fat, and nothing grows, you say, nothing grows but with an eerie fury under an antipsychotic sky, the whole world pink and pastel to compliance, Siroxa, peroxide, peroxytone tones, no life except the ditty dreams of birds, no life except the accidents of lightning. The hawk as a dry heat hangs in the air, and you could strike a match against your eye, the dog in a shit-stirred state like a matinee zombie, your hand coming apart in the theatre of his teeth, and the rainbow sings of antidotes and patents, take twice daily with food forever alive, the fractals of a black nest forensically vamped. Imagine the green fangs swelling with our sickness, it's in us now, prostrate with fever, while the day curls back along one ragged edge, they're spilling from the gutter, crowding out the eaves. You, in a fatalist garden, nothing grows except this horoscope, this horror, a budding, pungent fate. Tragic backstory. I am Gothic with apathy on afternoons like this. Hope will not be bludgeoned into luck, and all my lovely's gone. A tool away at grief, sailor boy working an oath into a tusk with a lamp-blacked scrimshaw of injured spleen. This house is full of ghosts, chorus of drowned captains quacking in the mildewed quandary of their song, mute Victorian suicides, daffy brides bound up in coroner's bombazine, poets squealing their iambics in the thumbscrews of regret. If not the house, then myself with ulcered thoughts, encircled nights, sky without stars, sabled to endangerments, a storm at sea, me, corpsey virgin in the formal cerements of want, I ready the worm that will undo me in my mouth. Oh, by which I mean I pithed a plucky rose for you. I lit a candle in the church, by which I mean I sat milking their cringy sermons for proof. In the weak nausea of belief, I traced your heat with my desperately seeking. There was blood on the sheet, it was mine. They died in the winter, wiping their snouts on our pity, lungs florid with rot. They were poets, their pockets grew cheap tubercles of coin. Winter with its instinct for sputum, and I grew fat, chantras against despair, my lean-to bloomed with vernal smut, I grew convulsive and syndromal, secreting a bland lyric meaning chemo, cocaine, menopause, any rumoured thing. I've been sealed inside the diplomatic bag of this pain for so long now, I don't know what I'd be without it. Elsa, perhaps, in a white grave smock. Elsa, the leaky scaffold of her hair, Elsa, sutured and improved, Elsa hissing in the fevered kitsch of 1935, Elsa, the pearly morgue of her uterus, Elsa under black light fluorescing, Elsa Lanchester, both merry and monster. Here I am, deserted, cured in the coppery threat-lighted plague, and I numbly crusade through the lesser hours of viral payload longing. How easy to deliver oneself of a chic noctraglicite, to spit the never-ever night that clings to talk. How easy to step through the neck of an Edith head gown and disappear. How easy to drown or to kick from your clothes at the siphonmost stretch of the sea. This house is full of ghosts, but you are not one of them, falling instead through the golden fault line of my metaphors. How easy, I said, but it's not. The body runs up against itself as the goddess Nike beheaded her bladed wings, upairing the difficult world. These ghosts belong to the sea. Now, Voyager, girdled by its blue and sighing regard, you too return to the tightness of water. Oh, by which I mean your books are boats tonight. I cannot sleep. The TV is death penalty apologists. The sugary toil of a popular song. Thick people crying over power ballads. Tory politicians playing their smirking guilt on a Wurlitzer. I am a Gothic folly. I gestate a tide of salt moved through the thorny loins of the night. Its barracks of black wire hair, the 24 black gulls backed into a corner baked inside this moon. I will not be mad. I will also rise and assume the halting brilliance of fire. But today, I will only contemplate the bluebird at my shoulder. and the snakes of my sleeve. Crown you cleanly among my phantoms with an oracle's kiss, an intended wound. Master of all you survey. Or say laird rather. Tomcats darkly cruising the rent boys of animal enterprise. I remember it this way. The bruised and quickening musk of dying plants with nightmare abridged into email abrinical plumbing the heart. Was I making the sound of a screwed pig? Yes. Did I tear my tights? Did soft little furies constitute themselves like boiled bats in my potty mouth? Did I say a wet fuck into the floor 1,000 times? Yes, and also yes. I was a surly termite burrowing into denial. I went to work on Monday. Gum under the lip of the desk. The meeting as sorry, as fake as stale porn. I remember it this way. A lethal snake, the tepid scent of pleasure cauterized at source, the pit bull's scuppered tummy as he licks my eyes as he places a stuffed dinosaur in my lap. I remember running until my legs hardened into stilts of wax or knives that trapped the body heat in their blades. I squirmed under a landfill of stars, of moons no use to metaphor, and tomcats reflecting yellowly the shrunken world, small in their eyes. We change of pace now. This is from a forthcoming collection of hyperlyric essays called White Other. It's going to be put out by the 87 Press this year. And this is a section entitled My Alternative Lecture on Feral Subjectivities. Unaccustomed as I am to making speeches, anorexia is therianthropy, that is to say, life after rape, life after grief. That is to say, feral is a territory. No, that is to say, feral is not a state, but a process by which I mean, among other things, the melancholy umwelt of the queer. I shave my head. How feral is a gesture, the body without voice reduced to gesture, how gesture is both language and a failure of or substitute for language, to be hypervisible yet always somehow missing. What it means to be poor, the object of paranoid fantasies, scapegoated, caricatured, endlessly surveilled and administered, your existence hedged by legislation and bureaucracy at every turn, yet to figure in these systems as a problematic absence and perfectly thinned down. There are endless forms most beautiful, how other multiplies these sorrows. You are visible in all the wrong ways, a target for ridicule and violence. You are a medical curiosity and a sideshow spectacle. You are inspiration porn and cackling cartoon baddie. You are a cautionary tale. You are a flag and a threat and an effigy made of yourself. Your visibility is punitive, politicized and policed. You are supremely, dangerously visible, but rarely ever seen. You leave no wound, no trace. Or whispered into euphemism and dirty secret, you are papered over, painted out, redacted. Your otherness draws all eyes toward you. The only proof that you exist at all is the hostile regard of the crowd. Feral registers voicelessness, performs voicelessness until feral is transmuted into voice, a way to express that which can never be said or refuses to be heard. Did I say feral? I meant hunger, which usurps and becomes languages, both language and gesture. In Ireland, the starving body functions as both the emblem and the evidence of colonial oppression, a cipher of denial, of want, of articulate refusal, by which I mean the shonokal, is fagwelge brishta na berliklishta. What is the wasted body of a hunger striker but broken Irish, the self-evident scar of its mutilation, by which I mean this body, this life is mine, that I do not recognize your prison or the laws that it upholds. Feral doesn't want to die, but to speak. Feral must produce strange sounds or no sounds because the mouth is a nest for an enemy language. Talk proper. What proceeds from us can never amount to more than a bargain basement version of our tormentor's voice. To speak without accent, to speak only through the mute grimace of negation, by refusing food, refusing their world, or else let us howl. What I meant to say was this: what if feral were a method? What if feral were a method and a nectar, how language lives as the medium and the object of our joy, to make more than this kiri, than this keen, Feral lives in the desperate, suggestive part of language that is also the nay-brained hormonal succulence of fuck me or get over here and fuck me like a red-headed stepchild, is a straggling, star-lighted love between curfews us hitching our tights in a tactical skirt. Feral is not for mean girls, it's for scavengers and synanthropes, never for predators, for those of us who, in the extrovert disastrophe of a secondary modern unmade ourselves. What I mean to say, feral is superbly adapted to exist under the shaping stress of a culture and a country that wants you dead, how that makes you not resilient or stoic, but chimerical, mercurial and impossible, incendiary form in the needle-nosed night. You pass your tongue through a wishing ring twice, you nail your twilight to a tree and step out of your skin. There are 6 dead crows poked with the stake bent back on themselves like dismembered Bibles. Feral does not endure but evolve. The swanky taste of her name is tinned ravioli and bread so thin that it lets in the light, is the rankled chests of children, penny sweets where a sugar shrimp is a severed ear, where all the chocolate tastes like crime scene chalk. Feral's gonna preach it like she feels it, as a pleasure activist in an era of long knives, to activate pleasure, in fact, and fuck their wheedling adult trip. Feral says, screw your gym membership, your mortgage, your kitchen island. What should cling to feral should be the promise and the solace of escape. To be undomesticated and to have escaped domestication are not the same thing. So feral is a choice, a refusal, a sensual refusal. She steps through the door of a corset to become what? To be fecund with refusal. Antigone's no without comment or apology, principled and vigilant into the teeth of their feculent intent. How feral is a fuse is insurrectionary fur. We should be feral, plotting joy's recourse through thorns, fishing for a song among the welter of our wounds. Feral is orgasmic, says those who are denied become those who refuse in their turn. See what I did there? Feral is the unmutual, ecstatic is the 518th critique of oligarchy. What if feral were rhubarb, grown from a seed in a bird shite, its supple pong and sugar dipped, delicious, bitter, sweet? My pink teeth say this confectioner's error to stain. They say their stain. They say what's in a name but a trite condition of limit. What is a country? What is a body? What is a home? Feral should say, what is form? Feral makes a mouth wide enough for light bulbs. To fix her teeth is to equally bleach the language made in her mouth. A line of straight white similes, the bland armaments of hygiene. Feral's breath is bad, but her teeth are sharp. Men have emptied feral of all but fear and error, susurrus of dread, smarming from the gilded sausage flesh of a politician's tongue. What feral must find is the fluke of errant faring. We can learn from those aerial truants, the gulls, oracles of unthought and amnesia, gulls who mean and delight only in themselves. Their feral bears no message, little worm, emissary of the ear, the air. Feral knows a song that will get on your nerves. The animal without allegory. What I meant to say was, I spent the last 4 years as the hyena, terminating my soft muzzle to the wall. Men will show you where feral fails, those upright entrepreneurs of fate and muck unstandardized testing, a white hand caught in the warm folds of our otherness, washed in the weak heat of our worms, our rookery blood. Feral is like queer, cannot constitute itself, a perverse inversion of form, the squeamish miracle of desire contra naturam, melancholy, melancholy most profane. Men who say we have walked their rituals to widowshins, the body too, how we exceed ourselves, our sex, how we overstep our skin, how the wild will not contain us, edge incarnate is circle without center. The hyena's laugh is like the Mona Lisa smile. No, not like, is. What if feral were a tactic and a strategy to conceal and to console the wagging tongues of counting crews, the speaker shift of evil twins? Or what if feral were a girl who leapt from arrest into endless blue recidivist scrapyard dawns, no quarter given, not a lovely thing, not lyrics weary, lilting, Larry, wilting, not any string, waif, impulse, perfume, cheap millennial flower crown, cheapest satin pedigree and insults stripped from plimmies. There are men who bend Godspeed to their leering will, men who are selling feral as the gangrenous atavism of a council estate, a foxy charm reworked as culling law, where all tales tend to murder, where the drone of his voice out arias any swarm. What if? At the reading, An actress hangs her heckle from a rounded vowel, talks about real people who are only ever scraped from the pavement, who have no culture, only customs, whose livid slang lights up the backy night in strophes of Aggie verbal. My hyena is an elite of one, wants to say, listen, fucker, our first language was trees, an alphabet too tall for English mouths to mither, how they remove their teeth, stretch themselves like snakes around the bonny of it. Wants to say, punch up for once. And what about access, and what about provision, the muttering of currency, to be all profit and no motive, your collaterals of tallow. England has been shitting my figment flesh into fetish and rhetor and feral forever. If we are not real people, that is, I fail to belong even in the other you put me in. What if? At the reading, a poet tells me about the hyena's birth canal, long and narrow with a sharp bend. Over 15% of females die during first birth. They lose 60% of their firstborn young. Why tell me this? Is this what feral holds, the freight of feral, who cannot even sex correctly, whose cunt is a cold kiln, who cannot have children, will not, his body is an abortionist closet? What if feral fought to be here? In the queer time of the childless has overcome the stovetop cunning of grandmothers and all the unwant of the church. Feral as evidence, as a tactile fragment of sin, but feral swims these reservoirs of fetal alcohol. How feral is jugged in the chancy love of women. How feral will wear her lips out in the wine. Can feral communion? Can feral fruit of thy womb? A saint with a fragrant name, with a mane of nuclear weather. Tell a lie, a halo. What if feral arrived, spoiling from a Molotov across the coaly Midland night, the mainland night, hymning all concussions protocols? Hyenas, says the biologist, bear a calloused clitoris. Hyenas, he says, best all rubies, the eyes of idols, even belly dancers' jewels. What if feral were these thoughts, amplified, exaggerated, where animal repeats, first as farce, then as pornography? How feral sees itself in the muddy gape of boots and corpse's sleeve, a manual for processing livestock. What I meant to say was, anthropocentrism isn't a gift. You little us inside the human, and you little humans too. What sentiment is a turd wrapped in tinfoil masquerading as the moon. My body is not a landscape. This landscape is not my body. My body is not this animal, but I am every animal. It's all in me. All you single ladies, sing it now. Anytime you feel danger or fear, then instantly I will appear. Oh, you'd better believe it. Feral is the opposite of difference, as the fear of difference is the fear of feral, which you only know to crowbar, which you only know as a mechanism of eviction. What if feral weren't your get thee hence? What if feral stayed, will stay, and is? What I mean to say, the queer ones, motherless daughters, the wolf wound, the womb wounded, all my hyenas. We are coming. We are here. Thanks, Manny.